Welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name is Dr. Brooklyn Storm, and I help private practice owners align their business back with their soul's calling, with their big vision and with their soul's purpose. Unlike other private practice coaches, I've traveled the world in search of spiritual resources, spiritual tools, education and information so that you can have the transformation that your soul desires and needs so that you can up-level your business. How much fun is this? I love it so much. Guys, if you're not already a member of the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group, please check out the show notes. I would love for you to be there. In the meantime, thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Good morning, everybody. How are you going? It's Brooklyn here, your host. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast. So what we're going to do today is talk about how to up-level your Psychology Today profile. So yes, do listen and then maybe listen again later on and have a pen and paper handy. But just before you do that, I also want to say that I am creating a freebie for you that's going to have all of this information in it and detailed instructions of how to write a highly converting Psychology Today profile. So if you would like that, keep an eye out because I will be sharing it maybe even later this week. I'm going to put it up on my social media, and if you want it, you can grab a copy. Okay, so just connect with me in one of the groups, either the ACPPO or Counsellors Connect Australia, or send me a message. I'm not big on email. I only check my email twice a week. It's just one of my boundaries. I spend so much time online that I tend to speak to everybody sort of in real time. So not really an email person, but if you want to grab it, let me know and I can absolutely send you the link so that you can download it. So maybe just enjoy having a little bit of a listen today as we go through this together. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is be really, really clear about who we're speaking to. And I know I say this a lot, but when we're talking about the Psychology Today profile, remember we only have limited space. We've only got a very limited number of characters that we can use. And the profiles that tend to convert really highly are ones that speak to their target market. There's I think like a mindset issue that some counsellors experience, and that's they're very, very fearful of risking missing out on getting a referral if they only speak to their dreamiest client. And what I want to say to you is that by keeping your profile very general and by keeping it very ambiguous and very vague because you're trying to speak to everyone, what happens is you don't speak to anyone. Okay. For example, some Psychology Today profiles will say, I love working with anxiety and this is what I do and da-da-da-da-da. Whereas somebody else will say, I support working mums during COVID who are, in the process of transitioning from having an employer to starting their own business and dealing with that sort of anxiety, for example. Like that speaks to someone. Now, that person, that mum who's transitioning from paid employment to working from home, or starting her own business, she still has anxiety, but she's not going to book in with the person who says, I deal with anxiety and depression and confidence and this and that. She's going to enroll with the person who says, hey, I see you and I help you. Right? This is exactly what I do. I work with women in this situation. So be really, really clear about who you're speaking to. And when you feel like you're being really clear, I want you to come back to it the next day and ask yourself, is this specific enough? The other thing that can really help with this is understanding that you're not being exclusive, you're not denying anybody access to services, and you're certainly not going to miss out on getting referrals. In fact, some of the most successful practices grow because they are speaking to one person, they are standing for someone or something. With my own business, for example, I work with women in private practice that are very interested in understanding how to create balance by using energy like the masculine energy and the feminine energy, the wounded masculine, the wounded feminine, by understanding things like the 4 levels of consciousness and using those sorts of frameworks to inform their practice. Now, my approach isn't for everyone, right? But I'm also not going to exclude anyone. For example, I also work with clients that are men. They come to me and say, hey, do you only work with women because I really want to enroll in coaching, or I really want supervision, or I really want mentoring? Of course, I'm not going to say no. If they're an aligned client and they share my values and I can help them and we're a great fit, of course I'm going to serve them. But with my market, it's ridiculously imbalanced. I don't know what the current data is, but last time when I checked, it was in Australia, it was something along the lines of over 80% of counsellors and psychologists and social workers were actually female. So it just turns out that my target audience is more likely to be women, people identifying as women, than men. So I speak to them, but I'm not excluding anyone. And I still get to choose at the end of the day who I want to work with. So if you're feeling like you're hesitant about being really specific about who you work with, I would encourage you to do some mindset work on that. Maybe speak to your coach, maybe speak to your private practice mentor about that, and get some support unpacking it, because at the moment it could absolutely be stopping your business from connecting with your perfect for your practice clients and getting those referrals. Okay. The other thing that is a real barrier to clients booking in with you is on this limited space in the Psychology Today profile. I've seen some counselors use it as a resume. And by that, I mean they say where they studied, what degree they got, what year it was, what level of membership they're at or not at, and, all the training that they've done, EMDR, and, all the training that they've done, right? And that's a waste of space for you, and it doesn't mean anything to your clients in general. Like, in saying that, I'm sure there's probably going to be a small number of clients that want to know that stuff, but honestly, they can get it from the website or they can get it from talking to you. The role of this profile is to connect with clients. And by giving someone your resume, you're not connecting with them. You're in that convincing energy. You're in that pushing energy. You're in the energy of justifying why they should book in with you. So don't do it, right? Less is more. You just simply need to say you're a registered counsellor, if that's what you want to call yourself, or if that's how you're identifying, or you can simply say you're a trained counsellor, or whatever it is. They're going to click over to your website, or they're going to ask you when they speak to you if they want to know that information. And guess what? Most of them don't care if you've got a master's or a diploma. It's not very often. I'm sure some people are. There's always exceptions to the rules. But I have never been asked what my qualifications are. In 20 years of working as a psychologist, I was never asked what my qualifications are. And now working for the last 5 years as a counsellor, no one's ever asked me what are my qualifications. So don't waste that precious space on your Psychology Today profile by listing out your qualifications. It's like you're proving to yourself that you're worthy enough of being on the profile or working with a client, but your clients don't need to know that. So use that space creatively. The other thing that is a bit of a mistake that it leads to people feeling confused and like you're not the right fit for them is in the section on the profile where you get to talk about the conditions that you help with. Psychology Today helps counsellors by providing them with like a tick list where you can go and say, yes, I do that and I do that and I do that and I do that. But what happens is while you might have done those things, or while you might have done them in the odd session here and there, yes, you've done them, but there's no need to tick all of the boxes, because what happens is it looks like you're a jack of all trades and you're a master of none. It looks like you don't specialize in anything. Nobody's going to book in with you. Less is more. It's kind of like putting in hashtags on your Instagram. Some people, because you're allowed to put 30, some people want to put 30, but the current algorithm is saying that, anywhere from between 3 and 7 is like the holy grail of organic reach on your posts at the moment. So it's less is more. Think about your perfect for your practice client, do they need you to have done, everything on that list? Like, I've seen profiles that have like 30 things. It's ridiculous. Don't do that. It's not about any approach you've ever used or any problem you've ever helped with. You're calling out to your dream client. This Psychology Today profile is your opportunity to stand up, on the stage in front of a big audience of people and say, hey, if you are this and you experience this and you want this result, follow me. We're going over here to this side. And then the next person's going to come up on the stage and through the loudspeaker and say, okay, and anybody else who's experiencing this, and this and wants this result, you come with me and we're going to go over here. But the person who stands up and says, I do everything for everyone come and join me, no one's going to go there because you don't, it's not clear why they would. Okay. So that's the other thing that you need to know. Something else that is a real barrier to people booking in with you is making the profile all about you. Like, a typical profile might say something like, I went to Monash University for 14 years and I believe that you have the right and I do this and I work with that and I. And it doesn't mean anything to your clients, right? It's like, it's bad manners in a way. It's kind of like you turning up to a party or turning up to an assembly or turning up to a meeting and just talk about yourself the whole time. That's not what we do as therapists, right? We're all about building the rapport and building the connection. And the Psychology Today profile is an exercise in you really refining how you're going to build that rapport in 30 seconds or less with your perfect for your practice client, right? And the way that you're going to do that is you're going to do it by talking to them. Yep. The other thing that can happen too is, and this is a big one, is in the section where it says, what clients do you work with or something like that. I forget the title. I don't have the screen in front of me right now. I'm just looking off my notes. But it says, who do you work with? And it gives a whole lot of options like children, teenagers, adolescents, individuals, families, couples, widows, this, that, and the other. There are people that tick every single one of those boxes. I wonder why they don't get clients. And then, when I speak to those counselors, they're like, but I do, I do. And I'm like, but they're not, your dream client isn't all of those things. Your dream client's going to be one of those things, maybe two, and that's where you're falling over. It's like this misunderstanding of, yes, maybe in the last 10 years of practice, I too have worked with children and teenagers and individuals and couples and families and the elderly and, all of this sort of stuff. I've done that too. But your Psychology Today profile is not about who you've helped in the past. It's about who your dream client is and speaking to that, right? Now, my dream client for counselling is, it doesn't matter to me if they're in a relationship. Of course, they're going to be part of a family, with the work that I do. Because it's my sort of area, or it was my sort of area. I'm talking about working mothers, was my thing. So they were part of a family is what I'm saying. But, they might tick, your ideal client might tick a few of those boxes. But the thing is that you want to really focus in on maybe just the 2 or 3. Don't tick all of the boxes, all right? Tick 2 or 3. So if you're struggling to get referrals from your Psychology Today profile, I'm going to hazard a guess that maybe your profile, and I could be wrong and tell me if I am, but I'm going to hazard a guess that maybe your profile says you do all the things for all the people and it's got your resume on it and it probably doesn't have a video because maybe you're a little bit shy or maybe a little bit, fear of being judged or imposter syndrome or things like that. So it might not even have a great video on it. If it does have a video on it and it's not converting, I'm going to, again, just go out on a limb here and suggest that maybe it's because the video is talking about you. And if it is talking to your client, I would say you're being too general and it's falling on deaf ears because it's too general. So if you want to learn more about how to write a highly converting Psychology Today profile, I'm putting together a template for you that you'll just be able to plug and play. I want to do all the heavy lifting so that you don't have to worry about whether it's good enough or whether it's going to work or whether it's right. So as I said, I will try and get that out later this week. So it's currently the 2nd of May, 2022. So I'll try and get that out later this week. If you see it on social media, feel free to grab it and download it. It'll only be available for a little while because I'm actually going to put it in my Clients on Demand program. But I want to give you a sample of the type of information and support and resource that you get in that program. So this is a great way to sort of give you a sample of what that can look like. So that will be available for maybe 5 days, and then I'll take it down. So yeah, if you want it, let me know, and I'll absolutely make sure to send you the link so you can grab it. Okay. So Psychology Today profiles can convert really highly. The other thing to be aware of is they are not going to fill your diary. Okay, you can't rely on one referral source to fill your diary. You have to have different referral sources coming in, and that's what we do in Clients on Demand, right? We look at the messaging, we make the plans, we prepare the posts, we prepare all of the engagement tools, we do all of the strategies and all of the things so that you leave with referral pathways set up and inquiry pathways set up. But you cannot build a practice on Psychology Today alone. So that's it really. And I hope that this was helpful. As I said, if you want to write down some of the stuff from today, go back and listen to it again. You absolutely can. But I'm going to put all of today's episode plus more in a template that I'm going to make for you. So yeah, just download that and go with that. And if you want me to have a look over anything, I'm happy to support you with that too. Okay. It's my mission to help you create a successful for you private practice in a time frame that feels good and right and aligned for you. Okay. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the show, and I will see you on Wednesday. Okay. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast today. If you're looking for clarity, if you need help with branding, your processes, and bringing everything into alignment with your soul's purpose for your private practice, head to the show notes and click the link for more information about the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group. You are going to love it. I can't wait to see you in there. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.